Hello everybody, and today I'm gonna show you a bit about CitiesXL Platinum. It's like SimCity, not much excitement going here, no bullets flying around, so if that's not your cup of tea, thank you for joining, but I'm sorry. I do like my city simulators, tried them quite a few, but they've always seemed a little bit limiting in what they felt and how they were being managed. CitiesXL Platinum does have a few very nice features on how to build and manage your city. It feels a little bit more real, let's say. About the options menu. Now, at first you may just hit it and then hit cancel again, because like that. I don't know if you caught that. Like that. You hit it, and then because the cancel is, I don't know, it happens to have a double mouse press, I don't know. Video options, you know, it's not exactly great, but it gives you pretty much what you may need. If you need bloom or stuff like that, yeah, that doesn't come with it, and it's pretty intense. It may be able to look better, but with those settings it's quite nice to look at. Sound is, I have to say it like that because the game is actually super loud. Whatever else I had, I'm always using music at the very low anyway, but in background then that's important, but the interface I want to hear about it, because that includes alerts, that includes stuff from when the game gives you some feedback, so that's why this is the highest one. But like I said, this would normally be up to 100%, background around to 85-75, and this would be at 50 music. But this game for some reason just goes super loud, and I don't know why. Miscellaneous options, achievements display. This is when you have something, the game has achievements, it tracks your progress and says if you have 50,000 residents, then that's a new achievement for you, and if you have 5,000 workers of a particular type, that's again an achievement for you. So if you keep this active, you will see that popping up in the screen. It's not exactly Steam achievements. Steam achievements, as far as I know, do not exist for this game until the point I've just played with. Expert mode, unlock all buildings. You know, it's not advisable until you really get your handle on things. You really need to learn how all the zones work between them and how to interlock those to produce the best result for your city. Leave it off until you learn the game, or turn it on and just go and see what goes on. Interface scale is also kind of weird. You'll see in the game that some things are big, some things are small, and this affects everything. So the smaller become way smaller and the bigger do become smaller, yes, and that helps you, but finding a balance between the two is very hard. I said it here as a personal preference. Obviously I think it's small enough on the interface but big enough for some of the letters, most of them at least. This is details and buildings, how much you want to display the details. Like, are you going to see every little window here on the side of the thing? Are you going to be able to see the antenna, satellite dishes, and whatever else exists in your buildings? Everything is set to 100% because I think it gives my city a little bit more of a real life environment in order to feel like a city. Texture details high, that's the highest it goes. It doesn't have ultra high, and I don't know why some games do ultra high and then medium and then super medium and then super low, and just have 3 settings and be done with it. Player residence movements. When you zoom out the map, you will see people moving around, just like you will see vehicles moving around, but I have to say that vehicles is vastly more important to see because you get some sense of the traffic in your city, but residential movement is not really all that needed, and it does, however, produce a very noticeable system drain on the FPS, so I've turned it off. Tutorial. Now, the tutorial does have great many things to say about the game. If you don't know the game at all, because it is not like other sim games, you should really play the tutorial. and it is a long tutorial because this game is rather complex. It's not complicated, you don't have to wonder about what goes on, it's complex. So do the tutorial, learn some things about your city, and then move on to play your first city. If you hit play, just come up with the globe, and if you see all those, yeah, there is no mouse dragging at all. Left clicking and dragging, right clicking and dragging, there is nothing. So you use the buttons down here. Every little dot you see here can potentially be a city that you control, build. So you can play around, and it's not of the earth, by the way, but I suppose that is intentional. You know, people just being from Germany and saying I'll build Berlin, or French people building Paris, or US people building New York, or whatever, you know. I think that was a conscious decision to avoid that kind of thing. So how do you choose between all of those? Well, you can click on one and see what it goes and start writing. Or you can just go say, what do you want? I want an easy map that has water. Huh? So there is no one. How about fuel? Well, there is one. So it's considered an easy, difficulty 20%. It does have oil, so you can start there. Now the point of the game is to actually eventually build many of those cities. Let's not say all. Maybe you want to build all, good luck to you. Each of those cities can be connected to any other. When you build a city, when you open up this map, it will have interconnections. You can have this city talk to that city and trade resources. If this city produces oil but this city doesn't, then this city can sell this city oil. And if this city is maybe specialized towards something else, manufacturing goods, maybe the city is very good at manufacturing goods, but this city not so much, so you sell manufacturing goods between those two cities. It's a basis for specializing cities to do what they're best suited for. If you start going around building everything in one city, then you're going to have trouble, because everything that you build has its own needs. So when you build refineries, there is no reason to build refineries. It may be a good choice for you, but if you build refineries, then where is the oil coming from? The oil will have to come from something else, and in your first few cities maybe you don't have oil yet, so the oil is going to be coming off a mega corporation that you trade with that is very, 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 very expensive. So basically you have to consider each city. What is this good for? This is for holidays, so this is something you can build holiday hotels around and make that the economy of that city. Think Las Vegas. Or if you consider this is fertile areas and water. Hey, this is agricultural area. I'm gonna build large fields here and then have this export food, for instance. I've already built this, so that's why it doesn't give me the same map as everything else. So let's play with that and see what it looks like. This is an interface. You can turn on the cycle here if you want that, but you know, this is management. We don't need to turn that on and off, otherwise we won't be able to see anything. Rotate, but thankfully for all those things there are keyboard shortcuts, so we don't have to waste any valuable space of real estate to see that. This is gonna be the expanded news. This is bringing you basically the most important information about your city automatically. This is the first city I've built so far. Now I had built another city in my trying out the game, because I wasn't much pleased about some things that I've done with this. This was basically my very first city, and I spent about 10 hours on it. And after 10 hours I realized that no, this doesn't work very well, so I took a very hard choice and basically wiped out this entire block and rebuilt everything from scratch with vast improvements that I thought would work, and in fact they did work. However, the problem is that if you want to save this, you go to save menu, and I have here my, yes, it's called Smallville because it's farmland and because I like Superman. So what if you want to overwrite that? In most games I know, you just type that and you hit save, right? Name already in use. Hold on, that's different. Well, that's weird. I lost my previous city because of this. Because when I did that, it said, do you want to save this? Yes. And instead of saving, it loaded my other city. And I lost the autosave, because as soon as you load a city, it saves. And then I lost my other city. And I did nothing wrong. I did the same thing as I just did. But I didn't pop anything like that. Was it an overnight patch or something? I doubt it. Well, that just made this point mute and just demonstrates my own frustration. But I had a better city, damn it. But one thing I really don't like. You have keyboards to move it around. That's great. To rotate and then also zoom in. And you can do this also by the mouse as well, by rolling the mouse wheel. However, in order to move around, one of the most important things for any map is tied completely to the cursor keys. So only the cursor arrows can move your map. You cannot reassign that to something like AWSD, or the other option you have is basically screen move. But that's inefficient. That's a city. And why I say that is a city and not something else? Because of things like that. Look at how the roads go. The roads are not completely parallel, they don't have to be. You can do whatever you like, you can really recreate. If you have a specific city in mind, then you can just recreate whatever that city is. Well, roughly. The buildings can be like that, because if I want to build something, then it does tie in to the road. But if I move along here, you can go like that. So if you first build the road and then you build your houses, you can do whatever you want. Look at those farms. Now these are all made point by point. It's not just a big square something that I just dropped down. I made, when you build something, let's build one. Just plop it there and there, here, and I'll go got 100% here. I can go here, or here, or I can go here, whatever I want. And I'm also gonna rebuild, and it needs unskilled workers. They're gonna come. It's a living system. And by the way, when I click on one, I see overlays. Whenever you build something, you see overlays. This is where I can build farms, and that's where I have built my farms, as you can see, and can go all the way up here. The rest of the land, you should use it for something else, like the city, or some initial factories that get the city started. So you see this complete freedom of placing things wherever you want them. This is a very big thing in defining what a city simulation can be. If you just place squares or rectangles or predefined forms in your city, then basically you don't have a city simulation, you have a block laying simulation. You're playing Legos at that point. I consider that to be a very strong suit of CitiesXL. What do you have? You have housing, unskilled workers, skilled workers. These are executives, and then they are the elites. Executives are needed when you're building big corporations, when you build hospitals that are big, when you build advanced tech firms. That's what you need the executives for. And then you have density settings. Now, low density means that you are stuck with things like that. This is a low density of skilled workers. Medium density is you have some complexes, some workhouses that are one on top of the other, and you have a low density, then you have, you know, some nice low houses with a few citizens. Obviously when you start the game, you're gonna start on just unskilled workers and low density, and skilled workers and again low density. When you start with low density, obviously the point of the mechanic is that you waste some space for 100 residents, for instance. And if you have medium density, you could house as many as 500. It just gives you more on less space. Pretty simple and straightforward. For industry, we have food industry, and here I chose this map because it was a fertile land. Specifically select this map in order to be able to specialize this for food production. I'm already producing way more than the city can ever have, and it's already trading, and that's why I'm making so much money. This is why the interface size is weird to me. You cannot really read what is here. It will strain your eyes a bit. You have to get close to the screen or something, but you cannot really see that this is market gardening if you stay at normal distance. It's not like the letters that come up on the pop-up. It's agricultural area, construction cost, variable, those are perfectly readable, but these down here are not. This is one of the things that are weird about the UI. Heavy industry is obviously the guys here. It's random what you're gonna get. In this case it's just a foundry. In this case it is like SimCity. You just place down zoning. You don't choose what you're gonna have at the end here. You place down the zoning, and then somebody opens up a new business. Obviously heavy industry is pollutant, it's hard work, it's what you start with, because it's easy to set up because you don't set it up. As you see, in the food industry I can choose what I want, and it doesn't produce right away, it takes some time. But heavy industry, you just start it off a bit here, and you can have some quick income and some pool for your citizens to start working, and more citizens to want to come in. Manufacturing, same thing, later for when you want to build something like manufacturing. It's a textile factory, for instance. Again, you don't control what you get, as opposed to when you build agriculture. This is gonna be high-tech. High-tech is the thing you all know and love, like tech industry, marketing, research, whatever. It doesn't produce any kind of pollution. It requires high levels of skilled workers and executives. So that's like a city central thing, like New York Center or London Center or something like that. It's locked because it's very powerful and requires a great deal of city infrastructure to achieve good results with. It's certainly not something to start off with. Offices are general offices. I think I remember we have some of those, like here. This is in order to have skilled workers, because when you build up the city, some things require both unskilled workers and skilled workers. So when you build up your sectors, your city blocks, you cannot exactly control how many of them you're gonna get. Well, you can by the number of them, but sometimes building just one of them then produces unemployment. And if you have a great deal of unemployment, that's not good. So how do you combat the varying degrees of unemployment you have across your population? Well, that's one thing. You have a specialized for skilled workers, and that's how you drop unemployment quickly for them. This is not going to be good if you just keep on doing that, because everything is connected. So when you build offices, the offices require some things in return, like electricity, or maybe they need more traffic in your city. And by building too many offices, and you're going to be requiring way too much of things that you don't really need. This was something to start off with. Offices are not something to stay there. This is going to be an agricultural city. If you start building offices and high-tech industry and building massive factories here, it's going to stop being an agricultural city, because you're going to be looking for many things more than are required for what the city is supposed to be. Let's go to trade to make that point a little bit more clear. So this is your city, basically. Everything is based on connections. The connections are these things here. The city has one connection here and another connection here. So by having two connections, you have specified exactly what your freight limit in and out of the city is going to be. This is the megacorp, like a system giving you a way out for your first city or your first few cities, because not maybe you cannot produce all of those things in every city. So it's basically using both of those, and I have tested it by demolishing one of those. This goes to half. So this city, as I said, is producing a great deal of food, so I'm selling that to make money. And this city needs water, which I do not have. Now this, I could put down some things for water, and that's easily mended to a degree, but look at all the other things. Now fuel, if you build up a lot of manufacturing businesses, then fuel is going to become a necessity. You can have unskilled, skilled workers come in from another city. For instance, I had in the other city I made, I had built up a lot of high density offices and manufacturing deals here. My fuel just skyrocketed. I needed to get fuel, but I didn't have the fuel. The fuel is basically built from having an oil rig somewhere in one of the cities, and that produces oil, which is fuel, and then that fuel can be sold off to other cities. I don't have fuel, and buying fuel from Omnicorp is very, very, very expensive, and that's why you need to pace yourself and play by the system, opening up options for you and taking the time to understand what you're doing. Experimentation is obviously better than anything else. You will get to grips with it. You will lose many cities. I have lost about 3 other cities that just were wrong completely, and that's how I finally come to understood that you need to specialize some things. When you click on something, obviously a few things happen. Depending on what it is, an overlay will come. Now, because this is manufacturing, one thing that needs to come out is pollution. We don't have a lot of pollution because we've kept the numbers very, very low, but there are these lines here. This basically says, because this needs unskilled and skilled workers, it says that the unskilled workers come from here, they live here, then they come all the way to the business, and the unskilled workers live here and they come all the way to the business. This becomes very important when you need to understand exactly why your traffic is bad. And you can see your traffic like that. I have spent some time optimizing those things, obviously, but you can still see that we have a problem here. This part is very blocked, and this part is very blocked, and all those things are things I learned later and was able to make my other city better. You will have to develop some building strategy. Now, I had started with some kind of building strategy, 1 square here, this is my town hall, that's what you start with, another city block, and trying to move on. Obviously you cannot keep on doing that because you have to build stuff like shops. Shops are a weird thing. In the tutorial you're gonna be taught to build blocks like those, and that's what I started with. However, blocks like these, if you keep on putting blocks like this, you're gonna end up getting your retail not to like you. Now, retailers here right now are very happy, but it's very, very, very easy to just plot down shop after shop and not have it be able to sell. You will always have retail problems, and retail is something that everybody in your city desperately needs. Leisure, obviously leisure is another thing. You need to keep your citizens entertained, and they have a great big range to do that. You can see obviously from here, green, good, yellow, not so good, and none. But you can see everything here is green, and if you raise them up a bit more, see it reaches all the way here. But obviously from this point onward it starts getting yellow. It's gonna be problematic, even though my leisure activity is right here. And this is depending on the road network. It's not a circle. It's not like from here you go to here and that's 50 meters and that's all you get. No, this is based on the length of the road that's accessible to you. Let's say that those roads here didn't exist at all. This house would get entertainment from that, but this house here would not. It doesn't matter that it's so close to it. It needs to go all the way down and then up and here, and that's what's calculated. If these roads here did not exist. The distance is based on road traffic and how long it has to travel to get there. So if you remember Cleopatra or Zeus started the games, and you remember the workers, that's the basic principle. Your workers go from one point to another using the roads, and only the workers service housing. So imagine, if you are familiar with those games, that a worker comes out from here, travels a bit, and then comes back, and goes out another way, travels a bit, and comes back. If these roads didn't exist at all, then the worker would always go down that path, stop here and come back, and this house would never get served. Commerce. These are the retail, basically. Shops, people need to buy stuff. Hotels are business and holiday. Holiday hotels you cannot actually build unless you are very, very far away. Now, let me show you what happens. This is a red map. This says that there is nothing attractive about this area to place a holiday resort at. There's nothing here. Everything is red, 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 red. There is nothing you can do to... No. And it's not even what it says. It's not polluted areas. It's just that there is nothing attractive here so far in order to place a resort into. But business hotels, obviously, because you have some business here, maybe offices and manufacturing, so you can build a business hotel here. And your leisure is also on the commerce. A few important things to note about all of those things, by the way. Notice that it has construction cost, monthly cost. What it does provides a low and medium quality service that slightly meets leisure. The wording in this case is kind of important. Range is neighborhood, meaning it's kind of close to it, but not so much. Negative effect is noise pollution, and what do you need? Unskilled workers only. Like I said again, why this needs anything is beyond me, but anyway. So let's see how this is calculated. When you put it close to a road, it will pop up. This is the range that it currently has. So based on that, when you build in a city, the city will light up. Obviously not now because everything is, but that's what it means by neighborhood. There are others that don't have neighborhood. There are others that have city, and I will show you that later. Utilities are peculiar. When you start your game, you get a very specific building, this one. Now this utility is basically providing the basic power, water and waste for the entire city. Unless you go out of your way to build expensive things, then this will pretty much meet every demand you have. My city was up to 50,000 and it was still being met by what this can provide. But maybe because my city was completely agricultural and it didn't have I even knocked down those after a while. How do you figure it out? Well, they're gonna complain. There are some tools you have to complain, and also, and maybe easiest, if you start going there, you will see that they need, for instance, water, and then they say, well, we need also fuel, or we also need electricity. You will see those things here, and you can meet them that way, or you can build the infrastructure to meet those needs. Water, you can build on it in green, and more water becomes available later. There are at least one more building for water. So you place this next to road, but you place it, and then when you place it, that happens. You cannot place another one within it. You have to place it somewhere else. And by doing that, basically the system tells you you have limited output of water in the city. So if you grow too much, then you're gonna have to import water to the city. Otherwise, here, and here, and here. Did that produce anything? No, because it doesn't have access to roads. We'll sort that out later. Notice something else. Monthly cost 65,000. If you remember here, that was 64, 63 something. By placing these, I now have gone down by 10,000. Be careful how many of those you put down. And I'm only saying this because when I did that, which are also 50, I had placed the entire mountain range here and the entire mountain range here, and at some point I went from 60,000 to minus 20. And I didn't really get much for my money either. So make sure you keep an eye on monthly costs. Waste comes in just two forms. You can dump them, or you have junkyard. This is the range here, if you notice, is citywide. So it doesn't matter where you plop it. As long as you have a dump somewhere, it will satisfy your entire city's needs. There are a few things like that. You can find hospitals like that. A big hospital can have a city range. So if you have the executives, if you have the resources and the skill and the labor needed for that, sure, go ahead. But when I planted my first hospital, I didn't know it needed executives. I didn't have any executives, and I had to tear it down because the system had not yet opened up executives for me. Town hall is the first thing you're going to have to build. There is no other way to get around it. You have to build a town hall, which is in this case here. If you don't, you basically are not allowed to build anything else. Everything else will be grayed out until you put down town hall, and that's the end of the story. Health can be managed by these buildings. This is a city range, and this is a neighborhood range. This is the difference. If I put in a city range, doesn't matter, everything becomes green. But if I put down a neighborhood range, again, it's limited. Education, all I have right now is elementary school, nothing else. All my people here are elementary educated. They don't have much of an education, but they're happy. Look at that. Oh, unless for those guys here. There you go, my kids. Learn something more. And as you plop it down, you see things start to become green, and more and more and more real-time feedback from wherever you plant it down. So you don't have to rush. There's no reason to rush. You build something, then we'll wait for a while. Plug it down, see what happens, and you have the overlays, which are always triggered, and it's a nice thing. Then you have security, police basically, fire department. This is environmental buildings, like a great big park, which will help you if you have problems like noise pollution. And you have decorations, which is it's a filler, because if you build, I'll demonstrate that later, if you build something that has gaps, then you build the filler and everything's fine. It's prettier. So I had built some zone here, but it wasn't complete. The game decided that I don't have space for everything here, so it left these parts empty. So you come here, select that decoration, you plant it down, and roads. Now your roads are maybe the single most important thing you have to consider when playing this. In retrospect, I should not have just put one way here. This should have been a great big motorway. Should have started off being a motorway, just like this. This is a motorway, and this should be what this is. This is the main axis of your town, and in fact it is very, very hard. So if this had been a motorway, things would be a little bit better. The traffic system in this game affects your economy, and that's very, very, very important. If some particular road or some section of road becomes blocked, then it's going to affect how things move across your city. It's going to affect your freight. If you notice, in trade you have freight capacity. What determines freight is the points, the connections you have on the map. So these are the connection points. Those that purple things, because I planted this here, this took all this thing here, and this connection here took all of that. So if I need another connection, I have to go and reach the end of those map edges here. I cannot have more connections than that. However, if your city is blocked by traffic, for instance, when I tried to rescue this city and make it a little bit better and build around it and come across it in some other way and encase it and do some stuff, then everything here became log jammed and stuff from here just couldn't find any way to get to work. So this guy basically had no work because he was blockaded by traffic, and that caused a drop in productivity because that guy lost his job and nobody else could get his job because everybody else was busy doing something else, and a snowball effect ensued. So one thing I've learned from this town is make sure you have cross connection of big capacities, and the capacities are spelled right here. This is a 60 car per minute road. This is an 80 car per minute road. Roundabouts are completely beyond me at this point. I really have not figured out how to use them. They're completely infuriating. I'm not going to discuss them anymore. And you have your country roads, such as you have here. This is a country road between those. There is traffic. Look. See that car going down? And this guy coming here. Why is there traffic? Because these are places of work. People need to come from here to there. This is work. They don't stay here. So this is another thing to consider. For instance, later I started building a little town here in the hopes of having people from here come work there. It worked. It was good. But then that gives you further problems, like how are you going to keep those people entertained, educated, and with shops? And the shops are going to need to get their things from where? Because you don't have manufacturing, so you have to import stuff. You're going to always have to play the balance game. How do you build roads? Well, there is one thing I want to show you because that confused me a bit. So you have straight road, you just block it down and just drag a line. Wherever you want to go, just it goes. Or how about if you want to have a curved road? Close the road. Well, this is not curved. What's going on? Well, it doesn't have to. You have 2 points. How does the city know where to curve it? Put another point and then you curve it. That's not possible with the other road. The other road will just take it and then to a corner. And if you go too far a corner, then the angle between those roads are too small. You're gonna get that a lot, especially when building your city. What is this then? 8 orientations road. This I should have known before I started this game, because this basically orientates you to exactly the 8 points of the map. See, it doesn't go anywhere else, not like the other roads. And this point is completely not explained in the tutorial. This is the basis of building a well-structured city. You have to start considering building your city with an 8 points. Lay down a general plan for your city, build it like that, with capacity, going from big to smaller to small, and then again to bigger and biggest, and you're gonna have much better luck designing your city that way. Let me explain then how zoning works. These are the zones. You have square zone, you have free zone, you have single zone, and you have linear zone. Square zone you define by selecting 2 points, and 2 points you want. Obviously the orientation will lock on whenever you want, and then plop. You can move it and select where you want to go, and that's it. It will always give you 6. What about the free residential zone? Well, that's point system. here and here and here and here and here. See? Isn't that nice? No. Right clicking takes away points. And if you want to stop the whole process, then you, on the last one you're gonna make, you should right here click again, and that will be the end of it. Single zone, just one plot, just place it wherever you want. End of story. It will be occupied by someone. And linear zone, just draw, and stuff will be occupied. There's something to be said about that for some circumstances. That's how I built my village here, for instance. Heavy industry, again, plots. 2 points and 6 plots. Everything is exactly the same. Offices, again, exactly the same. Leisure obviously is just per building, so that's like single plots. What can you do now? How do you get information about your town? Well, you have this basic. This is one of the most basic things you will get, and one of the most useful. Tells you have unskilled workers, 66% of the town. They are occupying all the homes you have right now. You don't have any immigration range, and available jobs are 5%, and unemployment is at 2%. Now, how can that be? How can you have unemployment and available jobs? Very good question. I don't know. Couldn't figure it out. Most probably because this is 10%. So if I go and build it here, speed controls here, and how do you go back? You just stop it, and it goes back to 1. Nope. Employment is 11%, available jobs 10%. This is a traffic problem. This town has reached again a traffic problem. So what else can you do? Population, high density population, low density, you know, and the things. Wealth, skilled workers, unskilled workers, executives, elites, unskilled workers. It gives you, there are quite many deal things. Oh, companies are hiring elites. So, yeah, that's right. This is your biggest thing, satisfaction, as a general percentage. Doesn't matter what they're satisfied about, it's everything. So, this guy doesn't like something, doesn't have shop satisfaction or employment satisfaction. You could not see this. Services just shows you all the public buildings, everything that contributes to the satisfaction of your citizens. And you have here health services, you have your education, security. They just don't care about this at the moment because you don't have any security buildings available to build. They just don't care about it. That's how this works. Weird. Same with fire rescue. They don't care about fire at any point, which is, you know, live dangerously. Fine. You have your shops. They don't have shops. They don't have shops, and basically the only way to do this right now is to demolish those 2 shops here and build them over there. That's gonna be sufficient. And leisure activities, you know, pretty good. And you have your economy, icons legend, what those icons mean. For instance, you have here. You come here and say, oh, what's this icon for? I don't know. You come here, not linked to a road. And you have your jobs. These guys, you know, haven't found any job. We saw that. Then vacant jobs. We don't have any vacancies, except for these here. But possibly that's the reason. See, that wasn't a problem. Those jobs were being taken into account. And what was I saying? Right, reports. So vacant jobs. We don't have any vacant jobs at the moment. Profits. What is performing? How your businesses are performing? Because those are just businesses that lit up. Are they profiting, or are they not profiting? Are they losing money? Freight. Your freight capability. This is being strained. You see here, every freight goes mainly from these areas, so those are hard to go by, but these have no problem at all to transfer freight to the roads. Passengers is, I could have passengers. This is telling me from here I could transport them somewhere, but this is basically for the buses. What else new? Environment, very good environment. Landmarks, they consider it good places. Noise pollution, we don't have any. Air pollution, we don't really have any, although we should have, I guess. Resources, this is how the overlays. So basically I don't have any oil here. I do have groundwaters, my fertile lands, intercity roads, it lights up the borders of the map. Intercity highways in general. So what's available despite connections, and this is with connections. Port area, we don't have any. Counter leaf gives you an isometric view of the elevation of the area of the map. Holidays, we don't have any. We saw that holidays. And coastal areas, again, we don't have any. Most of these will become apparent when you're trying to build something relevant, as you have seen. Fertile areas when we try to build some farms, so you have that overlay. Water when we build the water pumps, and transportation. Then you have travel satisfaction. We don't have any problems. This is to plan your buses and your trams and stuff like that. You have to consider those things because basically they will take space on top of your map. I don't have any, I think. No, none. But that's explained very well in the tutorial, so go to the tutorial and look that up. It will relieve pressure of your roads. They will actually get to use it, and there is also a class kind of system in the game. Your unskilled workers will be much happier using public transport than your higher ups. So I can quite possibly imagine elites not using the transportation system at all. But unskilled workers make a large portion of your area, so that will relieve some pressure from your town. Then you have reports like here. This is about unskilled workers. They say, okay, we're satisfied with taxes, we're very happy, we don't have any problem with jobs. Well, yes, electricity, we kinda need power, but we don't have power, and we'd like to move in, but we cannot because you don't have houses for us. And that's exactly the same thing you're gonna get from the rest of them. Factories, then you have, the complaint is we don't have any high tech, but ignore that. You don't need high tech for everything. If you're designing for high tech, design for high tech. You don't have high tech in the city, yes, because I'm planning this to be an agricultural city, so I don't care about you. Then offices are doing great, or they cannot, and there's nothing else to be said about the offices. Hotels, yes, they're doing great. There are no tourist hotels in the city. Well, again, hello, there are no places for me to put tourists. This is just giving you every little detail. It doesn't offer a context based on the map. You have to know where you are and what you're planning to do, interpret the results. Shops are doing great. That's not always the case. I have gone haywire with shops before, and they have been telling me I'm not doing great. Basically, if you have too many shops, they will say, but we cannot sell, please reduce production, which says we need less soap. And this is your freight. So retail is actually dangerously high at the moment. Electricity, we don't have that much of it, so probably we're gonna need to buy this off trading. And there it is, electricity. Buying this, and look how much that affects. 260 for 1 point of electricity. If I bought that off a town, it would be much better. And I can actually sell one water. That's fun. And that's trading. It's done. It's gonna stay done until I change it somehow. And there's the achievement because you tried it. So this is CitiesXL. I very much enjoy this game. It has a nice complexity to it without being too complicated. You can always find your way around, but you have to also learn by experience. I have to demolish this town and start again, but c'est la vie. Thank you for joining. Take care.